What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. We've got a great video for you guys today. We're going to be talking about an alarming rate of drivers quitting Uber and Lyft. Probably not a shock to a lot of you, but we'll dive right into that in just a second. Before we do, we wanted to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Solo. Solo is an amazing app. You're going to get $10 just for signing up using our link in the description below. Gets you better pay, better earnings, and everyone's favorite part of it is the guaranteed earnings. So make sure you check that out, guys. Like I said, 10 bucks in your pocket just for signing up. Use the link in the description below. Alrighty, so what's interesting about the drivers quitting is that this isn't just an issue we're facing because of the pandemic, which is what most people think. They think that, you know, just because of high gas prices, just because of the pandemic, that we're seeing a surge of, probably bad choice of words there, but we're seeing a growing number of drivers quitting. But what people don't realize is this has actually been a problem pre-pandemic, pre-crazy gas prices. Uber's arguably their biggest problem is their churn and burn. They go through so many new drivers constantly. They pay hefty marketing budgets to get new people to sign up just so that they don't stay active. So they're, you know, what makes them tick is offering drivers the flexibility. You know, they don't have to pay us as employees, they don't have to get the cars, they don't have to deal with the maintenance. They keep their, you know, cost of operations significantly lower because we're able to have that flexibility. And those of us that are consistent, well, we love that. That's the best part about it. Driving when you want to some degree, you know, driving home if all of a sudden you start feeling sick, taking a lunch break or a bathroom break whenever you want, not really worried about getting fired unless you're just a horrible driver and you go below a 4.6. So it's interesting that what also hurts them the most is this component, because what they've said is that only 3% of drivers that sign up with them will stay for a year. Only 3%. Now, I don't know if that means consistently, full-time, part-time, but I believe it just means in general. And you gotta imagine the amount of people that sign up, give a couple of rides, then are like, yeah, this isn't for me. And let's say that their average cost per acquisition for a new driver is, well, whatever the bonus is. A lot of times $1,000 to $2,000. Sometimes it's more like $700, $800, but you guys get the drift. Think about how much money they lose every single year because of drivers that just won't stay active. So why is it that drivers don't stay active? Well, I think there's a few reasons. I think that, for one, the advertising on this is always, you know, everything you see is be your own boss, make $35 an hour, which does not happen often, definitely not consistently. Maybe you make $35 an hour just on weekends, and even that, I would say, is a stretch. So I think a lot of people, they feel like they get played a little bit. You know, they sign up to drive, they go give a handful of rides in a week, and they think, oh man, I made $16 an hour. I paid, you know, $100 in gas, and I still haven't even bought rideshare insurance. I should still probably get a dash cam. And you start seeing the side of it where you kind of do got to invest in a decent amount of stuff to actually be able to do this. It's definitely way cheaper than most things you do. But the reality is, if you want to really do it and do it effectively, you've got to look into a lot of different things. So that's my biggest theory on it. Now, another component is obviously the gas cost, but I don't think that's hurting people quite as much as maybe the media or different conglomerates would portray it to be hurting it. I think the reality is that some people, it's really just not enjoyable for them. You know, for me, I've always said I loved it. I love talking to people. So getting in the car, having conversations, AC's on, it's a lot better than a lot of other jobs I've worked. But I know there was some very frustrating times, and I've joked on this channel that I've quit like 100 times because I have. Because there's been so many seasons of my life where I was like, I'm just done with this. I'm sick of it. I'm getting out. You know, I need something more consistent. I need something more stable. You know, I need something that, you know, I'm not sitting all day, every day. I need something that I don't have to pay gas for. I need something that doesn't cost me a few $100 a month to do. So there's all these different reasons that even for me, I've gotten, I just call it driver fatigue, where I get sick of driving for Uber and Lyft after a while. But the reality is as easy as it is, I think there's almost a harsh reality that a lot of people just aren't cut out for it, even though it sounds like it would be really easy. Money aside, expenses aside, I've had so many friends and family members at times who have been like, oh man, that's gotta be like the easiest thing in the world. And I'm like, well, yes and no. I mean, yeah, it is, but it definitely comes with its challenges. And I think a lot of people start to realize once they do it for a couple of weeks that they're not really cut out for it. You definitely can't be socially awkward. I mean, you can, but you definitely need tips to make decent enough money. So if you're not making tips, it's probably hard to kind of justify doing it. You might not have the right vehicle for it, and going out and buying a new car to drive for Uber and Lyft is a ridiculous thought. So if you've got a pretty big SUV, God forbid one that doesn't qualify for XL, it's like then you're really in a bad place. I've seen people that have Ubered in pickup trucks before, and that just blows my mind. I'm like, how do you even make sense of this logically? Like, are you just out here for dates? Hopefully not, because that's weird. I don't know. So I think that yes, people quit for all those reasons. They're not cut out for it. They don't have the right vehicle. Maybe it is the gas, maybe it is the pandemic. But I think ultimately that at the end of the day, it's not even that the veteran drivers are quitting as much as there's so many signups and there's always these sites reporting out record numbers of Uber drivers signing up because the economy's bad right now. But then the reality is they don't last because the money isn't enough of a motivation, because it's really not as much money as you would think. Because everyone says you make $35 an hour driving Uber, and if you ever take an Uber ride, one thing I've noticed is I always ask them, oh, how well do you do on this? And I pretend like I don't know. And all these dudes lie their butts off to me. I don't know if it's pride, if there's like a slight shame in like, oh, I'm basically a taxi cab driver. I definitely don't feel that. But every driver I've ever had, if I ask that question, I swear not one of them's honest. Because they'll tell me things like, oh, I make good money. I make like 40 an hour. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, no, you don't. Who are you kidding? Who are you trying to impress? So I think people get out there. They realize that the money's really not what it was or what it is. Or I think they just do it very seasonally. I think they're like, you know what? I'm transitioning a job. I'm going to drive Uber for 3 months and then I'll probably never use the app again. And that's exactly what they do. So Uber's tried to create this environment and Lyft where here's the flexibility you need, but I think people really just see it as a catalyst to get them through a tough season, and maybe they'll do it again in 2 or 3 years, God forbid, but I think the reality is they have no intention of turning that app on ever again once they get through whatever tough little hump in life they're going through. So for me, the way I see it is they've got to find a way to make these apps, they've got to change something up. Neither company is ever profitable, and it's not like they're a startup anymore. They're huge, yet they can't really seem to make the money they need. And this is pre-pandemic too. They're negative every freaking quarter. So why is that? Well, it's the churn and burn. You're paying all these marketing dollars to pull in all these new drivers who drive for a week and are gone, who drive for a month and are gone. And they need more life out of each driver. So they say there's about 1 million drivers nationwide out there right now. Granted, huge amounts of that number is in California and New York alone, but it's really just 3% of people that are staying. So how do they make sure more people stay? Well, they got to figure out a way to make us more money. But the reality is that's pretty much impossible without driving rates up. And I think they've really hit their limit to where if they keep doing that, people either won't take it or drivers will quit because they're not making enough and customers are getting overcharged. So this always brings up the question in my mind of how long can they realistically last? Because there's parts of me that feels like they really can't maintain this or sustain this forever. Oh, well, once we get our fleet of electric vehicles, then it's going to change. Is it? Because I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is people don't want to keep doing this. I haven't been like truly consistent with it in about 2 or 3 years. I still drive pretty often, But consistently, no. Couple days here and there. Sometimes I'll take 2-3 weeks off, not even touch the app. Then I hop on for, you know, a couple more days. But I mean, the last time I drove a full 6 or 7 day week consistently, I couldn't even tell you, because I get sick of it. So the reality is something has to change, and they probably don't have long, because drivers do quit left and right. They sign up and they quit, and it's just a big loss for Uber and Lyft. So I'll be curious to see what happens with them. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Make sure you check out Solo in the description below. You guys should really do this. You're gonna get 10 bucks just for signing up. I mean, it's free, and it's like I said, we've all used a lot of these other crappy apps in the past. This is a phenomenal one. So check out Solo, linked in the description below, and I will talk to you guys soon.